Are you a fan of Superman and you want to read the comics but you don't know where to start? These are the best and most important comics you need to read to understand Superman as a character and his history. First up, you have to read the original first appearance in Action Comics #1. This was released in 1938. It's the original first appearance and origin of Superman, and also the first appearance of his supporting characters like Lois Lane. But if you don't like to read the old-time comic stuff, I recommend the Man of Steel miniseries from 1986. It's a more modernized version of the original origin story, so you get to read it and you get to understand it a little bit better in modern times. Next, one of the biggest events in Superman's history was the death and return of Superman in the 90s. This was a huge event back in the 90s where Superman fights this monster called Doomsday. Superman ends up dying, and the world basically has to find out, how do we live in a world without a Superman? Next, I recommend this graphic novel by Mark Waid and Alex Ross called Kingdom Come. This was released in the late 80s. This is a really good book about an older Superman leading a group of, the DC heroes out of retirement so they can face one final crisis together. One of my personal favorite Superman stories is this graphic novel called Superman Peace on Earth. It's by Paul Dini and Alex Ross. A really great story about Superman trying to solve one of the world's biggest problems, which is world hunger. Next up is a really good graphic novel called All-Star Superman. This is one of the most popular Superman stories of all time. It's a great story about Superman who discovers that he is slowly dying and he wants to make the world a better place before his inevitable death. And this is also the book that is inspiring James Gunn's upcoming Superman movie called Superman Legacy. Next, I highly recommend, if you want to read some modern early Superman adventures, this run Superman by Grant Morrison. This was the 2011 run. This ran from 2011 to 2016. This is a really good story about a modern version of Superman's first few years as he becomes from Clark Kent and finally changing into the Superman that we know and love. And that same version of Superman, this was his last story in the DC universe before the DC universe was rebooted in 2016. This is a story called The Final Days of Superman. It's a really good send-off to Superman as a character, and I highly recommend it.